Welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, your home for professional, in-depth college basketball analysis, predictions, and betting insights. Friday, November 28, 2025, is shaping up to be another action-packed day on the hardwood, and we've got a full breakdown of the best bets across the slate, along with critical trends, team context, and tactical insights you won't find anywhere else. Before we dive into the 7 games we're targeting for tomorrow, let's take a moment to reflect on yesterday's results, because understanding what happened last can give us an edge for what's coming next. Let's recap. Illinois State covered the minus 5.5 spread with a solid 79-69 win over Charlotte. They controlled the boards, limited turnovers, and asserted themselves as the bigger, more disciplined team. Charlotte, struggling across the program this season, had no answer for Illinois State's size and efficiency, making this a clear and decisive victory. The over 153.5 in the TCU vs. Florida game also hit, with the total reaching 164 points. TCU narrowly defeated the defending national champions by 4 at a neutral site, showing that even in messy, high-possession games, free throws and volume scoring can push totals over. It was far from a polished display, but the points and foul line opportunities made all the difference. Michigan State, favored at minus 2.5, dominated North Carolina 74-58. Remarkably, they have yet to allow any opponent to score over 70 points this season. North Carolina struggled offensively, shooting 38% from the field and just 17% from 3 while losing the rebounding battle. Sparty's efficiency, 52% from the field and 50% from deep, combined with Tom Izzo's coaching and a neutral court advantage, ensured this pick paid off. St. Louis secured a tight 72-71 money line win at 110 against Santa Clara. Despite an off night from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Trey Green stepped up with 21 points, including 6 of 13 from deep, while Amari McCockry was limited. Depth and situational awareness, including late-game coaching decisions, helped St. Louis survive a tense finish, highlighting the importance of bench contributions in close games. On the flip side, Florida's Zaven Lee has struggled mightily, shooting just 22% overall and 15% from 3 in his last 4 games. While Florida's frontcourt remains strong, Lee's offensive inefficiency mirrors what Aiden Mahaney faced stepping up to higher-level competition last year, suggesting he may see his minutes curtailed against SEC defenses. Nevada also disappointed, losing by 17 despite a 43% three-point clip. They were out-rebounded by 14 and saw their starting guards combine for just 3 of 18 shooting, highlighting both scoring and interior struggles. Turning now to tomorrow's slate, our first matchup of the day brings us UConn-Illinois at the Garden, a game that promises to be highly competitive. Both teams have already tested themselves in 2 other Power 5 contests this season, splitting those games 1-1. UConn enters this contest with a 5-1 record. Their only defeat came at home against Arizona by 4 points, a tight loss that still showed resilience. They claimed victory over BYU in what was technically a neutral site in Boston, but for all intents and purposes, it functioned as a home environment. Beyond these higher-profile games, UConn has dispatched a number of lesser-known opponents with relative ease. They returned 2 starters from last year and have added significant size with a 7'1" freshman transfer as well as a contributor from Georgia. The team, however, lacks a true three-point threat. While one player might step into that role, the scoring burden from beyond the arc is minimal. Their frontcourt presence, led by Kerr Bren, offers a solid interior option, but they don't have a go-to scorer from deep, which could limit late-game options. On the other side, Illinois enters with a 6-1 record. Their only defeat was at home to Alabama by 4 points, but they managed a notable victory over Texas Tech in a true home setting by the same margin. Illinois returns 2 starters and has infused talent through 2 strong freshmen, one from overseas, along with a Cal transfer, Stojakovic, who serves as their primary three-point threat. In clutch moments, he is the player you want handling the ball on the wing after a dribble drive penetration. He consistently delivers when a team needs a critical bucket. From a scoring standpoint, Illinois appears slightly stronger, and this is reflected in the spread, with the Fighting Illini catching 2.5 points. Considering the roster construction and offensive firepower, I lean toward Illinois as the pick here, particularly for scoring stability late in tight contests. Next up, we move to Texas State facing Seattle in what might be one of the more unusual matchups of the day. I'm giving Texas State plus 5.5 points, viewing this game as essentially a pick'em. The contest takes place in Las Vegas at Resorts World, and attendance will likely be non-existent. Not even friends or family are expected, which makes for a very sterile environment. Texas State is 6-2 on the season, with 2 early losses to Bowling Green and Tulane, though the Bowling Green game was on opening night and should be discounted. Returning 2 starters from last year, Texas State has bolstered their roster with transfers from UMBC and Monroe. They do lack a traditional big down low. There's no 7-foot player to anchor the paint, but they compensate with remarkable efficiency. Shooting 50% from the field, this team doesn't rely on the three-point shot. They thrive getting downhill, attacking the basket, drawing fouls, and controlling the tempo in half-court situations. They are methodical, which suits the style of Seattle, who also does not play fast. Seattle enters at 4-1, having recently beaten Stanford on the road by 8 points. They return much of last year's roster, but they lack the athleticism to keep up with Texas State's speed and versatility. The Bobcats are loaded with athletes throughout the lineup, ranging from 6 feet 2 inches to 6 feet 7 inches, and their ability to maneuver around defenders will be a challenge for Seattle. Despite Seattle having size advantages inside, I don't believe they can stay in front of Texas State consistently. With the Bobcats plus 5.5, there's also potential value on the money line, as they could very well pull the game outright. Moving on, we have Porter Moore and Oklahoma taking on Marquette, a matchup that screams fade alert for the Golden Eagles. Historically, Shaka Smart's teams struggle against strong Power 5 competition, and this season appears no different. Oklahoma is 4-2, with losses on the road to Gonzaga by 15 and at a neutral site to Nebraska by 6. These losses are not disastrous and come against quality opposition. Oklahoma is composed almost entirely of transfers from high major programs, including Nigel Pack from Miami and Darian Reed from Alabama. They have a balanced mix of experience with sophomore and senior contributors. They've beaten the teams they are expected to handle and have stayed competitive against the better schools they've faced. Catching 1.5 points in a neutral site game doesn't make much sense. The spread seems generous in their favor. Marquette, on the other hand, is 4-3 and has consistently fallen short against strong competition. They were beaten by Indiana by 23 points, lost to Maryland by 7, and fell to Dayton by 6 at home. They struggle offensively, failing to consistently hit shots, and this year, the defensive prowess that typically defines Marquette has not been as effective. Oklahoma plus 1.5 offers a favorable angle, and for this neutral site contest, the Boomer Sooner are the pick. Next, Wright State visits Butler, where the Big East program enters as a minus 4.5 favorite and with the over set at 152.5. Butler is back in Hinkle Fieldhouse for the first time in a while, giving them a significant home court advantage. This is arguably the best Thad Matta-led team in years. They score efficiently and possess athleticism that Wright State simply cannot match. Wright State sits at 4-3 on the season, with losses to Cal, Toledo, and Kent State. Wins against lower-tier opponents such as Radford and St. Bonaventure do little to inspire confidence. The Raiders start 2 freshmen, 1 sophomore, and 2 juniors, with limited size inside. Butler, conversely, has substantial depth and frontcourt size. Expect the Bulldogs to dominate down low and control the pace. They've played well in neutral site tournaments, defeating South Carolina and Virginia, and their only loss came at SMU. The team shoots 48% from the field and 41% from three-point range, marking them as one of the more legitimate squads in the country. I'm taking Butler minus 14.5 and over 152.5, projecting a final score around 91-72. Our favorite bet of the day brings us to North Dakota State at Arkansas State. Arkansas State is minus 115 on the money line, and while some books list them at minus 120, I recommend shopping around for the best number. These teams have contrasting styles. North Dakota State prefers a slow tempo and controlling the clock, while Arkansas State plays fast, emphasizes transition, and thrives on alley-oops and three-point shooting. North Dakota State is 5-2 with losses to Oregon State and UC Davis. They haven't faced significant competition recently, and this matchup represents a considerable challenge. They are undersized, with only two players 6 feet 6 inches or taller in the starting lineup, and their center is listed at just 6 feet 9 inches. Arkansas State is a physically imposing squad, with every starter over 6 feet 5 inches and backcourt players at 6 feet 11 inches and 7 feet 0 inches. Their size and speed should be overwhelming for North Dakota State, making the Red Wolves the clear pick. Next, we have a matchup where lines are not yet fully posted: Maine versus American. Maine has been historically underwhelming, and this season is no exception. Under Chris Markwood, Maine is 0-6, undersized, and inefficient offensively, shooting just 28% from deep and 65% from the free throw line. They lack a deep bench and appear incapable of consistent execution. American, by contrast, sits at 3-3, with wins over two Division II programs and a 6-point victory over Penn. They return two starters and hold a size advantage at every position. With efficiency at 48% from the field and superior athleticism, American should dominate this contest, pushing the pace, attacking the basket, and forcing Maine into foul trouble. I recommend taking American on the spread regardless of what it is. Finally, we close with a revenge game for Ohio State against Pittsburgh. Last season, Pittsburgh beat Ohio State in Columbus on an overtime buzzer beater, but this year the dynamics have shifted. Ohio State is undefeated at 6-0, and this marks their first road game. They've only faced one quality team, Notre Dame at home, narrowly winning by 1 point. Their backcourt is intact from last season, and the frontcourt has been upgraded with a 6 feet 8 inches power forward from Wright State and a 7-foot junior from Santa Clara. These additions provide strong rebounding and scoring options. Pittsburgh has struggled, losing consecutive games to UCF, Quinnipiac, and Central Connecticut State, along with a 22-point loss to West Virginia. They shoot sub 70% from the line and average 14 turnovers per game. Ohio State minus 5.5 is the smart play in this matchup. For some additional almost bets, Drake is catching 11.5 at LSU, but given the turnover of coaching staff and talent, I favor LSU minus 11.5. In a neutral site clash between Texas A&M and Florida State minus 1.5 looks appealing, as they've adopted an NBA-style approach with isolation, penetration, and kick-out shooting, while Texas A&M appears weaker this season. Lastly, in the LaSalle vs. Hofstra matchup, LaSalle at plus 2.5 makes sense, as the line seems mispriced and the Explorers are positioned to capitalize. That wraps up our comprehensive breakdown for tomorrow's college basketball slate. Every pick, every spread, every total has been analyzed to give you the edge. Make sure you're following Beyond the Box Score for daily, professional-level insights and predictions designed to help you dominate your betting and fantasy strategy. I'll see you next time, and remember, always bet smart, bet informed, and never chase losses.